Welcome in. This is Milwaukee Bucks on Tap podcast. Corey Moen, Evan Bernd. Evan, how we doing?
We are doing well. Doing well.
Doing well. Packed show for you guys today. Me and Evan are going to recap the 3 games that Milwaukee had this week. They played the Miami Heat, the Chicago Bulls, and the Atlanta Hawks. So we'll just get right into it. Milwaukee played against the Miami Heat last week, and it was a nice little 131-124 victory for the Bucks. Of course, what helped was that Miami didn't have Jimmy Butler or Tyler Hero playing in that game. So, Evan, I guess what stuck out to you in Miami's performance last week against Miami?
Again,
Miami.
Another too close of a game for comfort where they snuck away with the win the last few minutes in the fourth. But I think one of the big things was Lillard had a really good, efficient shooting night. Again, he's been a little bit hit or miss as of earlier in the year, kind of got a little better, but his 32 points, 4 of 9 from 3, I think kind of stuck out to me the most. Perfect from the free throw line. Another big one was Andre Jackson Jr., again, coming in, playing 3 minutes and hit 2 3-pointers. So again, can't complain with that little efficiency. But yeah, I think overall just a really good game from the starters. Everyone scored double digits. Rook having the lowest of 12 points. Didn't make a 3-pointer, but still was good on the same end scoring wise. But I think overall my biggest takeaway is a very efficient game from the starters. Just was kind of hoping that they could have just pounded them because they didn't have Butler or Tyler Hero. But sometimes you just can't have what you want.
And Miami is a very well-coached team.
Yes. No matter who they have.
Yeah, and they're not run by one guy. Like a lot of people are saying, well, this is Jimmy's team, Bam's team. Like, I just think Miami just has a collection of good players that, like, they could pick anybody up off the scrap heap and they're going to contribute 15 and 5.
Mm-hmm.
That's what it feels like, because in the game the other night, you would have thought Miami, without Butler, without Hero, they would have taken care of the Miami Heat easily. But that wasn't the case. And it was because Bam had 31. Okay. Josh Richardson,
that bothered me the most.
who's seemingly on one team a year. He had 20. And Jaime Jaquez, the rookie out of UCLA, had 14. So it's just one of those things where the Heat could throw a collection of just 5 G Leaguers and they'll make it a competitive matchup.
And it's one of those things where it's always been like that, especially with Eric Spoelstra. I think he's an underappreciated coach. Obviously, he has championships under his belt. Like, he's a well-known coach, but he's one of those guys where he can coach anyone he has, and they can always keep it a fair game. But I think, yeah, the Josh Richardson thing, I think, bothered me the most. Because, again, he's a guy who, again, not a bad player, but he's one of those guys where you remember him in the 2010s, not quite in the early 2020s. But, yeah, him having 20 points when he averages like 10 is always a Bucks thing to do. But, again, some of these guys just kind of showed up. They wanted to win. This was the game to clinch into the in-season tournament. So I think with the Bucks need to win to like automatically get in. And I think if they would have lost, it would have been like they were in the knockout round or the round to go to the knockout round. Again, I don't really know how it works, but this solidified them into the in-season tournament. They got the 1 seed for it. But yeah, it was just a lot of slow basketball. Again, 13 of 35 from 3. They shot a crap ton of free throws. It was really just between Lillard and Giannis themselves, 20 of 23 total. But Just overall, a very typical Bucks game I think I've seen this season. There's nothing really that came out to me or stood out to me from both ends. It was one of those things where it was, yep, I kind of expected this to happen for this game with Jimmy Butler and Tyler Hero being out because they only played 8 guys for the Heat and they still kept it competitive until the last final few minutes of the fourth. But yeah, overall, nothing too big where it was like, whoa, that happened. But yeah, overall, just a pretty mediocre Bucks game that kind of been surprising so far this year.
Yeah, I just saw that they dressed 8 players and they still allowed 124 points.
And one of the guys only played 11 minutes, so really it was a 7-man game. But that's the Bucks this year for you. But yeah, nothing too big. Campaign didn't really have a good game in his 17 minutes. Marjan played 8, didn't score anything, had a few rebounds. Nothing huge from the bench itself. It was really just the starters who did it all. But again, a very typical game I think I could have predicted this year.
I mean, and I think one of the reasons why Milwaukee won is because I'll say this 1,000 times, with the scoring's balanced, like Milwaukee usually wins. So, when you get like Damian Lillard adding 32 and you get Malik Beasley adding 16, generally speaking, the team is going to win, but you just, like you said, you never know. Especially you never know this year because I think what everyone's hanging their hat on is despite how close the games have been, we can't say Milwaukee hasn't been clutch. The team hasn't been clutch kind of coming down the stretch, especially in the fourth quarter. Because you're right, they've had one of the positives about Adrian Griffin so far is he's been very good about helping his team navigate these close games and help them close out games. That's one of the benefits is that Milwaukee's had a lot of close games this year where the scores have looked ridiculously high, like an all-star game score. But give credit to Adrian Griffin because Milwaukee's finding a way to pull these games off. And whether it's Middleton last week or it's Giannis or most of the time it's been Dame, they've been able to close out the games.
Yeah, and I don't know the percentage, but I read that the Bucks in the fourth quarter are like the most efficient team. It's like they purposely it seems like they're just like lollygagging around for the first 3 quarters and like, oh yeah, let's just win this game right here, and they make it stressful every time. If you don't have these comeback wins or you take away maybe you give us 2 of them, like the Bucks are roughly 500. So it's one of those things where it's this fourth quarter has been coming alive for a lot of these games. Do I like it? Yes. Do I want to have that stress? No. But it's one of those where, yes, I think Adrian Griffin was doing things correctly, just of how to adjust to the fourth quarter. Again, typically being down by like 10 plus points at usually like 8 or 9 minutes left in the quarter. But it's one of those things where I've expected it so far this season and I don't expect it to go away. So it's one of those things where they're going to have to keep working around it if they want to figure out how to close games more and make an actual playoff run this season. Because again, I see the Celtics playing the Heat with full force and they beat them by like 20 points. It's like, why can't we just do that? We'll talk about the Bulls game soon. And that Bulls game was one of the worst Bucks games I've ever watched in my life. And that was one of those things where full strength, the Celtics are just pounding on them, where it's like, yeah, because that's what you're supposed to do. The Bucks play down to their competition, and we see that so many times because it's true every single time, where it's, why would you want to blow out a team when you can make it competitive and potentially lose? But I digress. But yeah, overall, again, 131, 124. Huge game from Lillard, Giannis, and Bam Adebayo, but otherwise just another trading baskets game. That's how I like to see it.
Yeah, and one of the things you have to worry about now with the in-season tournament is the point differential.
Mm-hmm.
Because, there was like an incident last week where I believe the
Celtics.
and Bulls,
Yep.
where Joe Mazzulla told essentially like Joe Mazzulla and Billy Donovan got into it.
They did a hack of Drummond.
They did a hack of Drummond because I believe Joe Mazzulla told Billy Donovan, we have to win this game by 23 because of the point differential.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if like all the players are like keen on it. Like DeMar DeRozan wasn't, because he criticized him, said you got to respect the game, you got to respect the opponent. And I've never been a big proponent of that, because if you're being blown out, like I don't like it that like the team that's blowing you out has to now respect you.
Mm-hmm.
It's like continue until the final buzzer. Like I just don't like it when players like, well, why are you going to keep blowing yourself? Like, why don't you respect us? Why don't you wave the white flag? And I'm like, why would we do that? Because the game's never over. Because if we wave the white flag to you, then then what? You're going to come back by 20, 25 plus points?
Yeah.
So I feel like athletes are kind of soft when they do that, where it's like, we got to respect the game. You got to respect the opponent. Like if you're blowing us out, like you have to basically stop playing. I don't like that.
Yeah, I've always thought that too, where it's some guy dunks it and they're up 10 with 5 seconds left. Like they get hey, just be better.
Play defense throughout the whole thing. But kind of going back to it, as you mentioned before, Milwaukee, it feels like they're kind of lollygagging for the first 3 quarters. It kind of reminds me of what the Warriors used to do. Like when, the Warriors would play down to their competition for the first 3 quarters, and they would make you believe that, oh my God, we're within 2 of the prime Golden State Warriors. Like with Clay and Draymond and Steph, like we're gonna beat the Warriors.
We could win, and then
which back then for like a team like the Bucks, who were just like rebuilding or whatever you want to call it, they were mediocre.
Mm-hmm.
Having a chance against the Warriors, like in their prime when they were winning 70 games or 60 games or whatever, that was a big deal. Like beating the Warriors in the regular season was a huge deal. And now it's one of those things where it's like,
yeah, we won. It's more surprise. It's not as surprising now if you can beat the Warriors than it was.
But now Milwaukee's on that level where it's like,
we beat the Bucks.
Either we beat the Bucks, or we beat the Bucks, or as you mentioned before, that Milwaukee, you're right, probably does play down to the competition a little bit, especially like in the first 3 quarters, but then somehow in the fourth they just figure it out.
Mm-hmm.
They just remain in the game long enough to be like, oh, we got this.
Yeah, and it's one of those things where it's like, I get it, but like sometimes I just want to just win a game without having to come back down 13 in the fourth quarter, or have to somehow you're up 25 and you have to hold this lead that you've just blown in 6 minutes in the third quarter. Now you're up 11, and it's one of those, just win the game, please, just win the game. And that's how I see it. I don't know if you want to move into the Bucks Bulls one so we can like rant about that one, but I think that's the high point about the Bucks playing down their competition. I texted my brother in the start of the first quarter. I think the Bucks just went up 5-0, and I told him this is going to be the game where the Bulls play like the 96 Bulls. And it's like, it's either going to be that or Chris Middleton's going to play like Michael Jordan. And unironically, it was against the Bulls. Mm-hmm. And Bucks go up like 15-4. I'm like, oh, cool. Maybe this will be a game where it's like, oh, wait, this is the Bucks team and they're playing against a team without their top 2 players again. I don't expect anything much. And then sure enough, the Bucks are up double digits in the first, and then we're giving it up still in the first, and the Bulls just wanted it more, and the Bucks weren't playing any defense. The amount of I read the stats, and I read that the Bulls had 14 offensive rebounds and the Bucks had 9, which kind of shocked me. I thought the Bulls would have had more and the Bucks would have had a little less. But the offensive rebounds that the Bulls got, were because not one person boxed out. It was like someone bricked the hell out of a three-pointer, and then it bounces right back to the Bulls. They miss again, and then they get the ball again, and then they make it. It's like they're being rewarded for having the worst possession of the game. And it's not their fault. It's the Bucks' fault because they're not doing anything. They watch it and they expect someone else to get it, or they just assume it's going to like their hands are like a magnet and it's going to like go right into their hands. And it's like, the hell are you doing? And losing to the Bulls is one thing. Losing to the Bulls without Jimmy Butler, without DeMar DeRozan and Zach LaVine, and you still lose. I don't know. I was so pissed because, again, they just play like they don't want to win, or they expect to just kind of come back. And again, they did come back. And what did they do? They were up like 5 with under a minute left. And then, it's overtime. It's like, what the hell just happened? All they need to do is just foul Alex Caruso so he shoots 2 free throws and you win. But what do? They let him get a final shot and he sinks it. And they go to overtime and then they shit their pants in overtime and lost by 7 points. They scored 7 in overtime. The Bulls scored 14 points. It's like, what are we doing? I don't know. And it's so frustrating because you want the Bucks to just win. The Bucks are 13-16 and they're playing like they're 6-13. The Magic have the same record as them, you guys. The Magic are better than the Bucks. And I don't think I've ever said that ever in my life. Maybe 1 year the Bucks have been better, I've said that the Magic are better than the Bucks, but my God, I don't know what to do anymore. That game was crap.
Yeah, that game took some years off my life. That game, like when I was watching it, like on my phone, it frustrated the hell out of me. The amount of offensive rebounds they gave up. Okay. Just like I want to see in an NBA game, I want to see improvement. And it feels like it's been the same Bucks game every year. Same defense, same defensive philosophy. And it's all kind of blending together because you're right, Milwaukee did come back. But I think Adrian Griffin has the same philosophy that Mike Budenholzer does, like when it comes to fouling. It's like, well, we would have fouled him right there, but he was like the excuse Adrian Griffin used after the game, like, wasn't even a good excuse. So it's like, well, we would have fouled him there, but he was like too far out. What the hell does that mean? He's too far out.
I couldn't quite get to him.
like if they inbound the ball in the backcourt, just grab him. Like that made no sense to me. Where he's like, oh, he's too far out. So wait, you're blaming Alex Caruso or Vucevic or whoever because they threw the ball too far? That didn't make any sense. That made no sense. Just grab him. He's not going to get a shot up. Like, never have I watched an NBA game where they grab a guy, like, from that far out and they actually got the shot up. Like, just grab him right away. Like, you teach this in, like, elementary school or middle school or at the high school level. Hey, if you have to foul up to, just grab him.
Yep, yeah.
What do you mean too far out? I had no idea what that meant. That answer actually baffled me. Like, wait, no, he was too far. So if they inbound the ball in the backcourt, he's too far out. That's what most teams do. Most teams, like I don't know how many seconds left. But I'm assuming if they had time to inbound the ball in the backcourt, I'm sure you had time to foul.
And he was able to run because he shot it from the wing, the right wing, and then had a little bit of a step back where it's like it wasn't like a wide open shot that they just let him give. Like he was still under the pressure and he still hit it. And it's like there's no way that you could not have gotten there in time. They had multiple seconds to get it. It wasn't a 0.3 catch and shoot chuck up and he made it. Like, good for him. He got the lucky shot in, but no, he had plenty of time to get there. You know where he was probably going to go because there's no one standing over there. And my God, I don't know anymore. They shot literally the same percentage in the game almost. And like Bucks shot 53 pointers and free throw. I don't even know anymore. That was just an overall bad game. And when I look at like how the Bucks play this year, so if we're counting the Hawks game, they're 14-6. And I look at their losses. It's losses to this Bulls game, blown up by the Raptors, blown up by the Hawks, blown out by the Magic. That's 4 of those games already. And then you have the game against the Celtics where you almost came back and lost by 3. And I don't remember their other loss, but I'm sure they got blown out. Did they lose to the Heat? No, I don't remember. But there's one other loss that I don't remember. But 5 of those losses are like stupid losses where it's like, oh yeah, the 2-point game to the Pacers. That's what it was. You have 6 losses. 4 of them you got blown out, and 2 of them were within a basket. And okay, I won't say the blowout for the Heat or the Bulls, but it's one of those things where your 6 losses are embarrassing losses, and I feel like nothing's been learned. Nothing's been adjusted. Nothing has been fixed to maybe beat these horrible teams when you play them again, or not play so crappy and win by 5 to 7 points when you play them again. And they kind of did that to the Hawks, but again, even the Hawks game was still not as impressive as I wanted it to be. There's just no improvement, like you said. Nothing I feel like, is being fixed or changed.
And look, me and Evan are not saying like we don't like the fact that Milwaukee's 14-6.
I think you're muted.
Mike, can you hear me?
Fixing my, anyways. But with that, I think one of the big things is with the lack of, I don't know, care with the ball, it's some of these things where it's just nothing is going on that wants to be fixed that I see. And a lot of people are saying, oh, like let them adjust, let them do this. But it's like, I think we're 20 games mathematically into the season already, going into the in-season tournament where it's, you want to win this tournament or not. And I don't really see them. Obviously they want to win this tournament, but it's the way they play is, it doesn't look like they want to do anything as much with these wins.
You can hear me now, right? Really?
Sorry, we're doing a little technical difficulty. Do you want to
leave
and come back in?
Technical difficulty. You still can't hear me?
But yeah, I'll go into the Hawks game and do a little brief Hawks talk, and then we'll figure out the technical issues. But again, Bucks played the Hawks to kind of end their week. I believe they played them on Friday. I wasn't able to watch this game live, but kind of following it, watching the highlights. We had a triple-double, a Giannis triple-double, 32, 11, 10. Lillard had a pretty decent game shooting, 25, 6, and 9. Every starter was in double digits. Brooke, again, being the lowest with 11. Campaign, though, I think had statistically one of his best games this year. 7 of 11 from the field, 2 of 6 from 3, had 18 points, 3 rebounds, 2 assists. Bobby, again, another double-double. Marjan and AJ had not scrap minutes, but didn't play as much. Beat the Hawks 132-121. Again, it was a Trae Young, DeJounte Murray game with some help from the other ones. Like, obviously, Bogdanovich will have his few 3-pointers because he's a Bucks killer, but not as good as he was in years past, or games past, not really years past. But yeah, overall, you wanna test it out?
Can you hear me? What?
Is it dead?
I don't think so.
Do you want me to remove you and try to come back in?
Yeah, let's try it.
Sorry, we're having technical difficulties with Corey's mic is not working. 1 second. Let's see this.
Are we good? Shoot. All right. Well, I don't know what's going on.
Yeah, with that being said, again, the last time the Bucks played the Hawks, it was earlier on in the year. That's where they got blown out. It was, I'm kind of looking back at their schedule. It was 127 to 110. Again, the Bucks like hinted at kind of coming back, but then they kind of lost it near the end with the Hawks as well. But big game, Trae Young. Again, he's one of those guys who will just shoot to shoot. 32 points, only 2 rebounds, and 12 assists. He was dishing. I think one of the big things from him is he was able to hit the shots he needed to kind of keep them in. It was a close game for the majority of it, but near like the fourth quarter, I think end of the third going to the fourth was when the Bucks kind of started to pick it up a little bit, and they ran away with it near the end of the game. But I think one of the big things I noticed from this game, Chris Middleton, especially in this game and the previous game with the Bulls, you could kind of add his Hawks game as well. His shooting looks a little better. I feel like he hasn't been doing as well this season, shooting wise, been very inconsistent, but just hadn't been getting the minutes that he wanted to. And coming back from that brief Achilles tear, not tear, sorry, that seems like he's out for the whole year. The Achilles injury that he had where he was out for like a game. He's doing a little better shooting wise. Again, he's not putting up like stupidly high numbers, but efficiency is getting there a lot better.
Testing.
Mm-mm.
Okay, you know what? Here's what I'm gonna do. I'm just gonna.
Can you use your computer mic?
I'm gonna have to.
But yeah, so just kind of going through one of the things again that I think stuck out as well with it was being able to hold some of the Hawks have like weird guys who can just like light up the Bucks. Bogdanovich is one of them. And he was one of those guys who I thought he was gonna come to the Bucks, but that's when we ended up trading Dante for Grayson Allen. But I think something that I noticed was Clint Capella. Clint Capella is one of those guys who will just get stupidly high rebounds. He had 17 rebounds, but shot atrociously, 4 of 13. I think he was a big factor in the first game that the Bucks played against the Hawks, just scoring all over them. No one guarded him in the paint. He had 10 points, but only shot 4 of 13. But I think overall, these are one of the games where you kind of just have to win now. Again, the Hawks were 9-9 going into the game. Bucks were obviously on a losing streak, a 1-game losing streak, but had to kind of get it back. It was a good statement game just to kind of overall get into the in-season tournament coming up tomorrow. They haven't played since the Hawks game itself. But again, these are the games where it's like, okay, you need to win this game. There's nothing that should be holding you back to not win. Not having Jay Crowder should not be a reason as to why you lose. Not having Pat Connaughton should not be a reason why you should lose. But they were able to hold it down. Mainly the 6 guys who played, again, MarJon 60 minutes, AJ Green 8 minutes. AJ Green didn't take a shot. MarJon took 2, 1 for 2, 1 of 1 for 3-pointers. But I think overall, the Bucks need to start figuring things out, especially into the in-season tournament. I did see, what's his name? So Kristaps is, I think, out for the first game with like a sprain. I don't know if it's going to be long-term. I don't know if it's short-term, but I don't think he's playing that one game. Will they still win? Probably. But it's one of those things where if other teams are down, then we got to be able to pick it up somehow. But yeah, overall, good game. You wanna test it out?
Yeah. Can you hear me?
Mm-mm.
I don't know. I don't know what's going on. I have no idea what's going on my laptop.
Let's see. Let's do. Oops, that's muting me. What if I did mute you and then unmute?
Yeah, will that work?
Huh. Interesting.
Really is. I can't even figure out.
Sure. I'll just, as we're fixing that, I'll just kind of look into the future of this week. So the Bucks play tomorrow, which is it Thursday already? No, sorry, it's Tuesday already. The in-season tournament starts the quarterfinal. So the Bucks will play tomorrow, and then they don't play again until Monday against the Bulls. I don't know. Is there a game in between for the in season? Like if you win, do you continue to play? And then if you lose, you're like out of that. And then let me look up the in season tournament schedule because I want to clarify that just in case. So again, the Bucks are the 1 seed and the Knicks are the 2 seed. Yeah, so if the Bucks hypothetically win on Tuesday, so tomorrow, the Bucks will go into the semifinals and they will play the winner of the Pacers and the Pistons. Oh my God, the Pacers and the Celtics. So winner of that game will be played on December 7th. So yes, the Bucks could potentially play another game this week if they continue to move on with the tournament. So it is again pace. I keep saying the wrong teams. Bucks, Knicks, 1 seed, 4 seed. Bucks got the 1 seed. Knicks got the 4 seed. Pacers 2 seed. Celtics 3 seed. So again, winner of that will play each other. Then whoever wins the semifinals will go to the championship. Then the other side, you have the Lakers at 1, Suns at the 4 seed, Kings at the 2 seed, and Pelicans at the 3 seed. Same thing goes for them. Whoever wins will play on the 7th, and then the championship will be played on the 9th. So if the Bucks win tomorrow and the 7th, they'll play in the championship on the 9th. So there could be potentially 2 more additional games for the Bucks this week if they continue to move on. If not, then it will be they play tomorrow. If they lose, hopefully not. They're out of the playoff tournament or the postseason. Oh my God, I can't talk anymore. The in-season tournament. So if they lose tomorrow, they're done playing until the Monday of December, so the 11th, which they play the Bulls again. Fun. We'll see how that goes. But that's a home game. Last time they were in Chicago. But yes, overall, 2 games this week, or sorry, 1 game this week, potential 2 more. Again, only if they move on. But yeah, so we'll see with that. Hopefully the Bucks can go through. Obviously, again, there's incentives for winning. I believe like players get like $500,000 if they win each. Could be huge for some of the like 2-way guys itself. Some of these guys where they make $500,000 a game. It doesn't really matter as much. But again, we have the 2 games tomorrow. And then potentially the 2 more games in the future.
I'm testing it again.
I don't know what happened. Does it have a battery? Does your thing have a battery in it? I don't know if it like died or like something like unplugged. I see a light on though, which is weird.
Light's always there.
Do you have like a what's it called? Like a little like knobs like on and off switch? It's Mythbusters right now.
It is confusing.
I know with mine, it's like it's your like in the settings to like switch from like what you can use as a mic. Sometimes it's like, which one do you want to use? Your pro cam, your like, I have like the webcam mic or I have my headset mic. I know sometimes it switches. Looks like.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. I was still working on that. We'll kind of mention some of the other things just kind of going on. I would say, let's see. All right, so let me show that we got a comment section, so we're going to communicate through comments. One of the big things though for the Hawks game itself, words from Corey. So Trae Young and DeJounte Murray, I think were the big reasons for why the Bucks were able to kind of pull off the win. But you have the Hawks with Trae Young, DeJounte Murray were their main two scorers. Everyone else, you have Saddiq Bey. He had 17, but everyone else was just a little bit under that. But yeah, 32 from Trae Young. DeJounte Murray, again, his typical 30 points, doesn't pass a lot. He kind of reminds me of Aaron Gordon. There's a lot of Aaron Gordon memes going on about him just like not passing. But yeah, he's had his consistent lower assist rate, I should say, assist average, not necessarily rate. He's averaging 5 this season, but this game only had 3. Again, he was one of the two who need to be the consistent scorer for the Hawks themselves. So they scored again 62, half of their points right there. Saddiq Bey 17, Hunter 12, and then Capella 10, Bogdanovich 4, and then you have your others. Near the end, again, not really doing anything. We did have a 12-minute appearance from Bucks legend Wesley Matthews, chipping in 1 point and 1 rebound. 2 steals, though, in his 12 minutes of play. Again, that was one of those things where Wesley Matthews just kind of left, and we didn't really expect that to happen. But yes, I think overall, you have Trae Young, you have DeJounte Murray. They're big things. Again, Atlanta, 12 steals was a concern. Words from Corey again. You have Trae Young with 2 steals, DeJounte Murray with 2. You have, is it DeAndre Hunter? Yes, DeAndre Hunter had 2 as well. And then Clint Capella had 1. You had a couple from Bogdanovich, a few from Wesley, like I had mentioned just earlier. Again, I think kind of chipping off of what Corey mentioned about the steals, I think the steals have been a huge concern for the Bucks these last 2 weeks at least. I don't remember which game. No, it was the Trailblazers game where they gave up a stupid amount of steals that led to one of the big reasons why the Trailblazers had lost, had gained such a huge lead on the Bucks, was because they were able to steal and have so many fast break points. I think the fast break issue is huge with the Bucks this season, and it's one of those things where that is one of the big concerns for the future. Better defenders, which is again why Alex Caruso was just kind of showing his skills so he can be a Buck in the near future. He's just kind of like heating up his trade value with that shot to really like spice it up for the Bucks to trade for him. Do I think the Bucks will trade for Caruso? I don't know. I think they'd ask for too much and will trade for too much. But again, who knows what John Horst is cooking over there. But yeah, the steals is a huge idea of, I feel like something needs to be changed transition-wise just because the Bucks are giving up so many transition points and a lot of points in the paint. A lot of records are being set against the Bucks with points in the paint. And steals just in general, we don't have any guys who can really get back on fast breaks besides Giannis. You could kind of say Malik Beasley, but Giannis is the only one I feel like is going to run down and has a chance at not allowing a basket, because I feel like every time Giannis gives it up, he'll run back and he'll swat the ball into next week. And that's almost like a reoccurring thing with Giannis. You know he's going to block the shot that he takes and gives up. But yeah, 11 steals, big concern for the Bucks, especially with that Hawks game, and it could be a concern down the road just depending on who they're playing and who can capitalize the most, I feel like, off of steals just in general. But otherwise, again, we have the in-season tournament game tomorrow at 6:30 Eastern time. I think this will probably be a broadcasted game. Yeah, we got the TNT game for both of them. Then again, if they win, they will play on the 7th at 4 o'clock on 5 o'clock Eastern, so 4 o'clock Central on ESPN. Then if they win that one, they go to the championship again, which is on December 9th, which is a 7:30 game live on ABC in Las Vegas for the championship game. So again, we're hoping for that. We're hoping to see a couple more games this year or this week. And again, they do go for the regular season stats in general. But otherwise, if they do not win tomorrow, they are out. So we'll be back again on Monday, home game against the Bulls. So again, that's December 11th. Possibly going to that game. We'll see in the future. But yes, overall, we got the game tomorrow. Hope they win. If not, we'll be back on Monday. Corey, thumbs up, thumbs down. Anything else? We are good. All right. So again, we'll be updating with the in-season game. If they win one game and lose the second one, we'll talk about it. So there'll be a podcast that will make that revolves around the in-season tournament. If they don't win tomorrow and they don't play till Monday, we probably won't just make one to cover the one. We'll kind of play with how they play as well. But with that being said, we will see you